Welcome to Sundays. It's Real Stoned here, and we got
Bitch and Becky. You are so chipper, woo!
Woo!
The vibe.
Woo!
The vibe.
I had a few dabs of sativa before I walked into the studio this morning.
Okay, that explains it, because I am sober, and no one wants to hear me when I'm sober, so I'm going to light this joint.
Change that.
Sober is a boner. Never heard that word.
Never heard the word? It's actually a phrase.
I mean, oh God. You know what I mean.
So, welcome to the Sundays podcast, everybody. First and foremost, I just want to say I apologize about the delay of the podcast this Sunday. Basically,
we've had a crazy week.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
We have a rule not to talk about work, so we're not going to talk about work, but we had a lot going on at work. We had a lot going on in the personal life, too.
Our
vehicle troubles.
A lot of vehicle problems. Dog problems, too. Had to take the dogs to the vet.
Yeah.
It's been a time. What I wanted to start the podcast off is lightly touching on COVID.
We're going to heavily touch on COVID, but yeah.
With our gloves on, we're going to touch on it.
No, I don't wear gloves. In the winter, I do. It's cold.
Winter time is coming here, and I think with winter time coming, everybody gets sick usually. But I think right now there's going to be like a second wave, which Canada, I don't know if we have American listeners, but Canada's been prepping for the second wave now of COVID by building like, what would you call those areas? Like
FEMA camps?
Relief. FEMA camps? Emergency relief centers, or I guess, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, areas that you can go get help. And, a big thing that a lot of people are always talking to me about now is that CERB is over, so they are kind of left hung high and dry to kind of fend with all their problems now. And they're all asking, like, what do you think we should do? What do you guys do? And what do you guys think we should do? And what are your friends doing? And how's everybody else getting through this? And, I had some friends who didn't even qualify for CERB get CERB. And actually, I heard about that today, that they got a bunch of repayments the government got. The CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, got a bunch of people to pay in for their illegitimate CERB payments that they received. And apparently they were offering people the opportunity to snitch on people. Apparently.
Yeah, they did when it first kind of started.
But apparently, they were treating all that as a fraudulent investigation. Well, now that CERB's over, what should Canadians be doing? I mean, I know before COVID, I think, hit, a while before COVID, government was already talking about a minimum income plan for Canadians, where if you made under less than a certain amount a month or a year or something like that, that you would get compensated by this plan. And it basically would be like, if you've got no job and you're homeless, essentially, you're going to be getting money from the government, because you don't make that minimum of a basic need for a Canadian. You know what I mean? Because COVID's been going on now for like
almost a year, pretty much. Yeah.
I feel like it was.
It
like
started in October,
year,
November.
Right?
Yeah. So there's definitely second wave preparations taking place. You were saying how there's certain locations that are, in prep for, extra testing.
I know in Toronto that they're putting on these relief centers together, so that to get like a lot of beds and stuff like that with doctors and nurses, because the hospitals get swamped, right? And the thing with the hospitals too is that they have other people there for other issues. You know what I mean? They're trying to restrict how many people come in. These places are more for COVID people.
Yeah.
Just strictly for COVID people.
As I've said in past episodes, I'm pretty sure the first one, I'm going to make myself even clearer than I was on that episode. Probably going to get bitched at online over this, but I have the right to my own opinion, and my opinion is based on facts. Whether people agree with those facts or not, I don't give a shit. It's out there for anyone to see. They just have to go look for them like I do. A lot of people label it as a conspiracy theory, like the anti-maskers now and anti-vaxxers. And just because someone doesn't agree with what you say doesn't necessarily mean you have to label them as such. But anyways, that's not my argument here. My argument here is it enrages me how blown out of proportion COVID is. As a human being, I feel like all of my rights are being stripped from me and I have no fucking control over it because the mass population doesn't see to the extent how this is going to impact us for not just this year, not just next year, for the rest of our lives. Like for the rest of our life, this generation is going to deal with the impact of COVID-19. And I'm sorry, the amount of people that have passed away from it does not justify the mass changes that are taking place, that are taking our human rights away. It doesn't justify it. There are more people dying of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis has actually jumped 3 times within the last year that COVID's been around. If you look at the way that tuberculosis can be transmitted between people or between objects and fabrics and materials, masks is one of them. I'm not making this up. This is stuff that I've heard people talk about and I didn't believe it. So I did my own Googling, you can say. And the facts are there. Like, I'm not saying I read this on a CNN article or a Onion News article. This is facts on government websites that list these statistics. The truth is out there. People need to start waking up to it and stop believing everything they fucking hear, including this. Like, you should hear me talk about this and you should no, I want to prove this bitch wrong. Go for it. I'm happy. I'll learn from it. But you can't just sit there and say you agree with everything. That's anyone can't with a brain sit there and agree with what the measures are being taken place with this COVID and just think it's all okay and think it's for the greater good. It's not. It's the exact opposite.
Did you hear about that? So there was 4 vaccines going through the trials, and one of them actually had to stop because it was causing, if I'm not mistaken, a neurological issue with the woman that had taken it. They were testing it on one of the people.
I mean, that's great that they're knocking off one, but the one that eventually comes out is still going to cause so much more than what they can tell you it will when they first bring it out. Short term is very easy for them to determine. Long term, completely different fucking story. There's lots of people that are coming out after having surgeries done to even not even just plastic surgeries of putting a metal screw into your hip, or you break a bone and they put a piece of metal or a piece of silicone or whatever. There's positive and negative to everything. We need to weigh shit out. And right now we're not. We're just taking everything that's put on the media for face value and leading our lives with them making decisions for us. When the fuck do we wake up and smell the roses and just be like, okay, no, we have the power to be different. Let's be different.
So did you hear about Trump being diagnosed with COVID?
Oh, God. And his wife and a bunch of other people, apparently. Maybe that's why I'm just so pissed off about it this week. Because it's why is this still so big of a deal? People die all the time over things that are more serious than this. This isn't even fucking more infectious than other flu strains that we still have going around. Why is it COVID? Let's stop the world over fucking hunger, world hunger, or rape, or pedophiles, or let's stop the world over that shit, not fucking a strain of the flu that 98 or 97.7% of people can beat. A 0.0002 death rate.
Pretty sure no one's going to go out rioting about the pedophiles. It just doesn't get people's attention in that way.
So that's my thoughts. Well, my rant on COVID. And again, I'm probably going to get blasted, but it is what it is. Life is too fucking short for me to give a fuck about what people have to say. I'm going to live my truth. My perception, my reality. What's your perception on this reality, Real Stoned?
My perception is that the people that run the governments are like people who run churches. Their whole system of control is based off of putting fear in people. If you don't do what we say, bad things will happen. And that's kind of how the government fucking kind of does this thing with COVID, and not just
fear-mongering.
COVID, everything else. They do it with many other things. Yeah, fear-mongering. I mean, you can look up many fucking documents and see that governments have done plenty of shit to their own fucking people.
MK Ultra.
And you know, this doesn't even talk about North America. This is like any fucking
Anywhere.
government. You know what I'm saying? And it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, yeah, you have to just kind of weigh the pros and cons. When it comes to COVID, me personally, I'm not worried. I've died many times already. I think to me, death is just the next stage in life. Nobody knows what comes after it because nobody fucking comes back. And if you ask me, that's a good sign. It must mean whatever's over there is fucking better than what we got here. So,
here's to hoping.
Based on that note, I'm not stressing. You know, we all die. Nobody gets out of this fucking simulator fucking alive. So, with that being said, I'm not worried. I'm not worried one bit, you know. If I die, then it's just my time and that's it. That's how I look at it. I don't think wearing the mask is going to stop when I'm supposed to die. That being said, I'm not one of those people that says walking in front of traffic blindly is nothing's going to happen because it's not my time. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm not going to allow the stress of it all to interfere with the quality of life that I want to live while I'm still living. I can't let it affect my aura. You know? Whether it's there or not, I can't let it affect my aura. And I can't get caught up in that. Is it real? Is it not? I'm more of a, you know what? I bet coronavirus is real. I don't think it's as bad as they say. And at the same time, I'm not worried about it for myself because I could fucking die in my sleep tonight. Like, it doesn't change the fact.
I was talking to someone about this. They turned to me and they said, well, don't you think the way you're thinking is selfish? Have you had someone say that to you yet when you talk about your thoughts?
I've heard about that, yeah. Selfish, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we're being selfish saying, like, I'll make it a statement. If I had a choice, which I believe I should as a human being that walks this fucking earth and contributes towards it, I would not wear a mask. I would not use hand sanitizer every time I walk into a building and you force it on me. I don't want to do those things. And that, in turn, someone said I was being selfish because I was not protecting the greater good of humanity because we as a population need to do it to protect each other.
I hate hand sanitizer. You said that and it's just like, it really grinds my gears. Those people who are OCD with hand sanitizer don't really realize that by doing that, you're defeating your own fucking immune system's ability to keep up with what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's great if you're gonna live in a fucking bubble, but when you look at it, you know, like, that's not the case in our lives.
Hand sanitizer is actually doing more harm than good. Why don't people realize that?
I think it's something that should be used in certain applications, and it shouldn't be used all day. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, you know, it has a use, but it's not to be abused. My
favorite are the people that bring up, well, why can't you wear a mask all day? Doctors and nurses do it all the time. No, they fucking don't. No, they fucking don't. Before COVID, you would go into a hospital and you could count with your fingers how many people had a fucking mask on all day. Don't tell me that doctors and nurses do it all the fucking time. No, they fucking don't. They do it all the time now because of COVID. And ever since of COVID, you see all these pictures of doctors and nurses with blisters and shit on their face because of masks. The same masks you're saying are perfectly safe for us and we can use all day with no side effects. Look at the fucking doctors. You're eating your words by saying that.
Well, you know, I want to talk about one thing that would probably help a lot of people with COVID and without COVID, but during this COVID time, you know, it's the importance of vitamin D. They say like most of the population is deficient in vitamin D to begin with. So like most of us already lack, right? And it has to do with actually a lot of things in the human body. They kind of say that like vitamin D is almost like a hormone because if your body doesn't have a regulated amount of it that it needs, you're gonna have a lot of things go on the fritz, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things that our body requires for that, and it's just like those things that it requires directly affect other things when they're not working properly. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Everything's connected whether we realize it or not.
Yeah. There's places where people don't even get a lot of sun. the major thing that I brought it up for is that like it helps your immune system stay strong. It helps fight off infections and diseases when you're strong with. So like people who are deficient in vitamin D, they could have heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, infections. Their deficiencies could be linked to things like cancer, whether that be breast cancer or prostate cancer or colon cancer, but any kind of cancer really. Also MS, multiple sclerosis.
Wow.
That could be a sign of being deficient in vitamin D. And when most people are deficient in vitamin D, like, they'll go to the doctor and they'll be like, hey doc, guess what? I'm not feeling good. Doc's like, hey, you got MS, or hey, you got diabetes or high blood pressure, something's going on here. They're gonna go to treat that problem, and they're not gonna look into what's causing that problem. So, sometimes, a simple vitamin like that can really help. It's gonna bump your immune system, so that's something you're gonna want to have to keep you this winter season from getting sick, because nobody wants to have to get sick. Even if you don't get COVID, but you get sick.
Oh yeah,
flu, it sucks.
It sucks.
And then now with COVID going around, workplaces are starting to starting to mandate people to quarantine at home if they get sick. They don't want them in the workplace. It's no longer like your boss doesn't care if you're sick. Now it's if you're sick, they don't care. They don't want you there. Well, then another thing too is that you could have a medical problem that causes a vitamin D deficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole other aspect too, that if you're deficient, it might be worthwhile looking into it. You know what I mean? But I just think that that's something that, more people should be looking about. The government's talking a lot about all these things like masks and all this social distancing. But realistically, they should be talking about nutrition and shit like that should teach people more about how to stay healthy and not get sick.
So a couple of ways that you can increase your vitamin D intake is spending time in sunlight, consuming fatty fish and seafood. So salmon's really good for being a high fat content fish. I know that much. I believe mackerel is another really high in fat fish. Eating more mushrooms. I don't think they mean the magical ones, but hey, magical, non-magical, mushrooms are your friend. Mycelium. Look it up.
I like mushrooms.
Mushrooms are fantastic.
They're I love having them around.
They're fun guys? Yeah,
they're fun guys.
Including egg yolks in your diet. So specifically the orangey yellow part. Orange if you're getting organic, yellow if you're getting, I don't even know if those are eggs, bro. Eating fortified foods. I personally don't know too much about that, so I'm going to have to do some learning myself. Taking a supplement, that's the way most people do it. It's just convenient. It's easy. I get it. Or you can try a UV lamp. Another sign of vitamin D deficiency is depression. Vitamin D has a direct vitamin D has a direct connection to depression. People actually have said that their depression has gotten better when taking vitamin D supplements. So that's another great way to know that you might be deficient. Everything that's like, if you think about your body and your mind as a whole and you start to think like, how am I feeling? Not how I look or what I have going on, but how do I actually feel? Your body will fucking tell you. And then from there, you just have to figure out how to help it feel better.
Yeah, man.
And go the natural route, because there is healing that can be done with plants. Plant medicine is a real thing. We just
take 5 grams of mushrooms in complete darkness. That'll heal some internal shit you might have going on.
I second that. Yep. That'll you'll definitely come out a better person than you went in.
I've had a good time doing the whole mushrooms in darkness. It's pretty cool. Definitely way more vivid.
We could go into the next topic since we're gonna.
It's kind of related to the vitamin D thing,
Yeah. So winter's coming. Although it's sometimes, some hours of the day, it feels like it's already here, depending on how early you're up.
But depending on where you live, it could be coming quicker than others, right?
That's true. Yeah. There's probably snow falling somewhere. There's always snow falling in certain parts of the world, but at least with winter coming.
For us, anyhow, we know in our area that with winter coming, there's always a lot of people who are like, I'm going to leave my car running, let it warm up. you know, and we always have car thefts all over Alberta every winter. I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure everywhere in the winter. But now with everybody hurting, I think it's going to be a lot worse this year. And not just for that, like you hear people getting their car taken and their kids are in the back seat.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just nuts. It's nuts. But can you imagine having your kids in the back seat and your car gets stolen? That's just it's nuts how many Amber Alerts happen out here every winter for that shit. With wintertime coming, there's so much ice and all that. I just want to start telling people, just slow down. It's wintertime. Yeah, I'm gonna start saying that all the time now because like some of you guys are on the road still driving, you know, pretty summertimey.
I mean, would you say like
Racing around.
you have two different driving styles, a winter and a summer? I
Me?
do.
Oh, I drive like a grandpa in the winter. In the winter, I drive slow. I take my time. I give other people time. I give space in between vehicles. Because it's wintertime, man. I rock out good tires every year. 4x4 on with good winters. But it's just a thing where ice is ice.
Where did that saying come from? I drive like a grandpa or a grandma. I don't know about you, but I don't know a single old person that I trust behind the wheel. Like legit, on the way to the farmer's market today, there was a, in quotations, grandpa driving in front of me, and my friend beside me can vouch for this. He stopped at a red light, no one was coming, and then just went. Like, I'm not even kidding you. He just was at the red light, looked both ways, and just went. He's like, oh, I'm just going to go. No one's coming. I don't care that it's a fucking red light. And I have many more examples of why I don't trust a grandpa or grandma behind the wheel. But, I mean, older drivers are just very careless from what I've seen. I'm not talking like a 50-year-old grandpa. I'm saying like over 75, 80, even 70. Like, they're just like, I gotta fucking die sooner than later, I guess, so fuck it. One of my friends reached out to me and was kind of talking to me about the dogs, and because she has a dog too, and she was saying, she's like, you know, you guys should talk about your pups in the podcast, because anyone that knows you personally knows the dogs, and they're pretty awesome, and sometimes the shit they do is funny. So we should update our listeners on our puppies. So do you want to introduce the pups?
Well, we got two hellhounds. We got Karma and Snoop, male and a female. I don't think they're puppies anymore. I wouldn't call them puppies.
Every dog is a puppy to me.
No. They're, full-grown dogs. Snoop's a blue nose crossed with a red nose. And Karma is a Bondogi cross, which is something I can never actually remember.
It's a American Pit Bull mixed with a Bull Mastiff, I believe.
Yeah, I like my dogs. My dogs are pretty fun. We also have a cat.
Joey. Joey is a non-hairless, hairless cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that exists, that would be the category that he belongs to.
He according to the vet, is a Sphinx. We're not his first owner, we're the second, but the first owner did like blood work and shit, and I have those vet records that say that he is a Sphinx. Whether they're plagiarized or not, I don't know, but when we first got him, he had a lot less fur than he does now. But yeah, I think he's one of the coolest cats that we've ever had, and may just be the coolest cat we ever have. He's cool.
He's very different.
Yeah.
Those cats are a different breed. Sometimes I think he's a dog.
I think he thinks he's a dog. When I die, when you're like, come here, puppy, and he comes.
Part of the pack. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely does. He's very social.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are our fur babies.
Another thing I wanted to talk about. You know, I want to say it's about psychedelics, but not everybody considers weed a psychedelic.
I mean, if I take a lot of edibles, fuck yeah.
Well, I've eaten some big dose edibles, and when I mean big dose edibles, I mean like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 milligrams kind of thing. You know what I mean? In a single sitting kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm the kind of fucking guy that will do it on an empty stomach too.
I was just gonna say, our first time going to Jamaica, you ate 1,000 milligram sorbet at 5:30 in the morning because you're like, I got a 6-hour plane ride. I'm hella nervous going to a new country for the first time. I gotta get high. And it's gotta last me. So you fucking like a champ. And then I think the second time, like, you and our buddies, well, you were on a wave the whole fucking time.
Well, the second time I was on a cocktail.
Yeah.
Of self-medicated prescriptions to help get myself through the trip.
But I mean, it starts the vibe right for the whole trip. Like, and we have
you
a
gotta
great
be careful
time.
just not to take too much in an airport, because guys,
You can't
let me
lose your
tell you
shit.
this. It is so easy to be too high at the airport. There's security everywhere.
Literally,
They
too.
tell you to
Like,
get
you're
in these
high up
X-ray
there in the
machines,
plane.
and you're fucked up, and you're like, what? I gotta stand in this machine and get X-rayed, and and they thought I had something in my butthole because my sweatpants had a back pocket, which was like a fake back pocket, but just had like a metallic button on it. And they're like, "What's in your rear end?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Hell no, this isn't how this one's going down." I'm like, I'm not even, I'm not smuggling shit in my butthole, that is. And like, so there should be no reason why they want to go in there. If anything, check my bags, fuck. But it's like, okay, here we go, And I can tell you from personal experience, I've done it many times. It can be very easy to get too high at the airport. And I had all those weed pills that I was eating in the airport because I didn't want to. I couldn't take them back with me, so I was just eating them all at the airport while we were walking around. And then I got too.
You were
fucked
giving
up
those
there.
things away.
Oh, I was giving tabs of acid away
Yeah.
too. It was awesome. I'm a great person to travel with.
Absolutely.
Apps I'm just amazing. But anyway,
Just really good vibes. Yeah.
Oh, best vibes.
What was the topic?
Well, we didn't even get to the topic.
Oh.
Believe it or not, I just kind of I wanted to touch on how it's not really a psychedelic thing. Some people don't call it weed psychedelics. Even though when you do get into huge doses, it does kind of feel like time slows down and shit. I want to talk about this guy whose name is Justin May, and he's I believe an archaeologist. And these are the dudes that dig stuff out of the ground for a living. So
I thought you said dicks.
No, they dig things out of the ground for a living,
I'm
like really
what?
old stuff,
What
right?
does
They
he
go
do with
looking
his
for
dick?
stuff. So this dude was doing some some archaeological work in Jerusalem, and they found some remains of like some Judeo-Christian stuff, or I guess that would be the term. And they found some organic remains of incense, and
That's crazy that it
that it lasts, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this incense was so basically it was like an altar, and it was like a religious altar where they burned incense during the ceremonies, and they had ingredients there in the incense that was, I believe, frankincense, and there was cannabis as well. And so they lab tested this stuff, right? And it came up as THC, CBN, and CBG.
Damn, so it does last
CBD
for a
and
long
CBN.
time.
Yeah, no, it can last a long time. They found a lot of dig sites that had vases with cannabis oil and stuff like that.
You mean a vase?
A vase.
No, I'm kidding. It's vase vase.
But they found tons of stuff like that. They found
That's
things
cool.
not only with that, but they found pipes. They found hookahs. They found lots of different stuff with reminiscent of many different drugs, not just cannabis.
Yeah.
Mushrooms, opiums, many different drugs. Heck, I heard on the Joe Rogan podcast that the Greeks knew how to infuse wine with salvia. It kind of goes back to the whole the way I wanted to go with this was that to kind of touch up that when we sit back and we just look at society and culture in a sense, we are living in one of the times of humanity where drugs have almost the least open use in our culture. The pharmaceutical industry is open, but many ancient civilizations and tribes and stuff like that use a lot of drugs for ceremonies and stuff like that.
Would you say that due to the fact they created pharmaceuticals in order to make a stream of profit because they realized, well, the shit they can grow in their backyard will help them, but if we tell them it won't, then we'll make the money. I know I'm throwing it far deep into an end, but
yes, in a sense, we've exploited these people by going to, we've gone to the Amazon, to places where they're isolated from us. And we've gone and taken their
we've
stuff.
reversed history in a sense, whereas before in history, we used natural substances to get high, to whatever the case was. Instead of like continuing that and learning how else we could use these natural substances, we've regressed and turned into chemical substances, because that's what pharmaceuticals are. It's chemicals that they've created in labs, right? And I'm not saying that there's a lot of chemicals out there that they've created that don't save lives. I know they do, but how much further would our healthcare system be, and how less sick could we potentially all be if we had explored and spent the billions that we do in pharmaceuticals and natural medicine?
Look at all these cultures and groups of people that had these ceremonies with like psychedelics and other drugs, and that was their way of doing things. Like some of these cultures, when you look at like some of these tribes and stuff like that, they start young with children, even with their diets and stuff, taking these kind of things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a different cultural way of living, and it's just kind of boggling that like we as society we're having a war on drugs, and it's, you know, we're just saying all drugs are bad when that's not necessarily the case. You know, certain drugs carry a different
Medicinal value.
different medicinal value. They have a different purpose. You know, some drugs have a different energy with them, and it's not so much that the drug is bad. It's just that's the energy that's attached to that substance itself. You know, everything has a frequency, which is like an energy in a sense. You know what I mean? Everything puts off something, whether it be good or bad. You know, I think it's one of those things that we could learn a lot more from if we look back at these other groups. And we looked at, you know, how they did them and why. And then, you know, see, it's one thing to take a pill, and it's another thing to have a medicine that's proven in the setting that works, you know.
There's a quote that I remember reading that is along the lines of, it's been proven scientifically that by speaking positively to a plant and playing certain frequencies of music to a plant, it'll actually promote growth and promote health in that plant. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, can you imagine what we could do if we treated each other that way? And it's very true. All of what is possible because it started from something. It started from, in a sense, it all came from nature. Like everything's, like, it's the world, right? It's the fucking earth, the fucking mycelium that runs through the earth, right? Like it goes so far deep. And again, everything is so connected that whether we realize it or not, it affects the cycle of things. I'm baked, and I forgot how we started on this and what the main topic was, but...
Well, I just wanted to say, like, it was just cool how they found
yes,
cannabis being used
right.
in these ceremonies,
yeah,
where it was used as in incense. So they were burning cannabis and other things like fragrances and stuff like that. And, you know, they were saying how not necessarily that people were getting high off of this, like off the fumes, but it was creating a setting.
It was the energy.
It was the energy. It was exactly.
Kind of like people that use sage, I believe.
Yeah, sage is another good one. Perfect example. The natives will burn sage.
Yeah.
And I believe that they say that it takes away negative energy.
Cast away
right?
the negative. Yeah, the negative spirits, energies. Yeah.
I mean, you know, and whether you look at it through a religious lens,
spiritually,
or a spiritual lens, or you look at it through
science,
a Wiccan lens, or however you want to look at it, or a naturalist or herbalist lens, however you look at it, we know for a fucking fact that certain things do certain things. There's positives and negatives, and you can almost, in a sense, if you put more effort into what we do, we could do things differently, if that makes sense.
I agree. We control a lot more of our life than we are put out into this world thinking that we do.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes, you know, you got to put all the bullshit aside and just embrace the beauty of it all. Mm-hmm. And just enjoy it and go for a trip. Because at the end of the day, that's what all these other fucking people were doing.
Yep.
All these people we learned about in school.
Civilization was formed.
Civilization was formed with people tripping.
Yep.
On psychedelics.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, like, did you ever hear Terrence's stoned ape theory?
Terrence McKenna?
Yeah.
I've heard you talk about it, but I've never looked into it
So
myself.
Terrence's stoned ape theory is that it has nothing to do with marijuana, actually. Even though he called it stoned ape, it was a theory that he kind of believed that we evolved from monkeys, that because they're supposedly the closest primates, right? And he thinks that this was sped up so fast because monkeys found psychedelic mushrooms and it helped evolve their consciousness at a much faster rate, and that's how we kind of can explain that gap there that we're missing, and because we think it takes so long for natural evolution to happen, but what if psychedelics played a role in that? I mean, if the Big Bang was real, how do we know that's not where psychedelic compounds came from, somewhere in space or something, and they're not like some kind of different alien life form that we are co-inhabiting with in a sense? Like Terrence said one time, I know I'm quoting him a lot right here, but I'll paraphrase him here. He kind of said what if the aliens gave us mushrooms and we're like, we need to communicate them, but how? Because if we just show up, they'll freak out. Well, let's put it as a mushroom so they'll eat it and have this trip, and that'll be like our way to communicate. It's just like a different angle on things, Sometimes you just got to step back and look at things with a different set of eyes.
But that's the thing. Just because it sounds different doesn't mean it's wrong. And it doesn't mean that it could be what the truth is, right? Like, at the end of the day, we are only human. None of us are perfect. None of us know everything there is to know when it comes to life, the world, each other. Like, we only know as much as we know.
Actually, for that fact, that's one of the reasons why I love psychedelics, is it just kind of throws me back into that loop that
it humbles
I don't know
you.
Shit.
Yeah.
I'm the tiniest little speck of life.
Yep. We are all a part of something so much greater than ourselves.
Yeah, and we have, as humans, have no fucking idea what's really going on.
No.
We've
None
been
of
here
us.
for so many fucking years on this planet, and we have no idea what's really going on yet, because we're so preoccupied with bullshit.
Yep. We're distracted.
Yeah, it's almost like they knew more about it back then than we do now.
A lot of, I always find it interesting when people that I work with or that we socialize with will go on a vacation to a country that isn't as privileged, I'm going to use the term, as we are. And they say, it's so sad. They have so little, but they're so happy. They're happier than we are. And it's yeah, and as a person, you should think more about what you just said. They're happier with less than what we have, and we're not as happy as them. That's a huge statement to say.
Well, I think
there needs to be more self-reflection.
But if I was to add on to that, I think that goes to show you that the average person thinks more in material ways of happiness.
Yep.
They think that materialism
Material
is happiness.
Equates the way society plays it out to be is if you are successful, you will have money, you will have nice things.
Well, you turn on the TV and that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's an advertisement for a fucking cologne.
Yeah.
But there's a fucking sports car, a fucking broad in the car there with you. Everything
a $50,000 watch.
Everything basically not to do with the fucking cologne.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, if you have this cologne, you'll have everything you want.
Yeah.
That's not fucking true. And that's a horrible way that we sell things. It
yeah.
Really, like you said earlier, we got to be more positive with each other. We're so negative with each other in a sense that and when you think about it, who are you putting down? You're just putting down your fellow human.
It's such a sad, vicious cycle, and we're guilty of it too.
Oh,
we talk.
Everyone is.
Yeah.
Everyone is.
I've at least 5 times this week talked shit about someone because they did something that I didn't agree with, or they were wearing something I didn't like, or I fucking hate it. But that's the reality that we all live in. So again, I know none of us are perfect and we can't be, but how do we do better for ourselves and for each other? How can we do better?
I think the biggest thing is just trying to remind yourself every day, try to do better.
I think with that, we're going to let y'all go. Peace out.
Peace out. We hope that you guys enjoyed the Sundays podcast this weekend, and we hope that your Sunday was actually a Sundays as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we hope that you guys
stay medicated, definitely. Mm-hmm. And thank you for all the support and all the feedback we've been getting. We're always open to getting feedback. We're down to keep doing these. We just want to make sure that you guys want them, and however we can make them better.
We are currently trying to get the video section of the podcast up and going.
Yep.
It is something that we are working towards. And then once we have the video going, we want to start having guests on the podcast as well. So it's not just Real Stone and Bitching Becky on here, but we'll have some other people that they don't even have to be local. We can, we're going to try to work it out so we can have anybody
FaceTime too.
that wants to come on the podcast, come on the podcast.
Yeah.
All right. So look out for that. We'll let you guys know more when we're ready for that stuff, but definitely keep an eye out. And again, if anybody
next
wants
weekend
to be,
we might have someone on here. Yeah.
Never know.
If
right?
someone shouts out and they're like, "Hey, I want to be on your podcast."
Yeah, it's all about engagement and just communication. We just want to talk to people.
We just want to spread the positivity.
Yeah, to like-minded individuals, anyhow.
Yeah, at least.
At least, yeah.
Okay. Have a good Sunday, guys. Peace
Enjoy.
out.